Welcome to toy-polloi.
黄色い点字ブロックまでお下がりください。Your attention please. ご乗車ありがとうございます。ご利用者は目地の右軸の順に停車します。
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and today we are heading back to Tokyo for part 2 of my Tokyo toy hunting video, and this time we are heading to Akihabara, which everybody knows as a great place to go for vintage toys, modern toys and all sorts of electronics. I have to say, having been to Tokyo many times, it's not my favourite place to go toy shopping, but it's always worth a look. So the first places I like to hit up are Mandarake. It's a very large store. It's set over 8 floors, with the top 2 floors being dedicated to vintage toys, so that's where I head first and I have a quick rummage around. This time I have to say I didn't find anything at all, but it's still nice to have a look just in case there is that odd hidden gem there. After that I tend to hit up a few other little stores that are dotted around the area and just generally have a good look. It's just one of those places that is really busy. There's lots of people about, there's lots of tourists about, so the chances of finding those hidden gems are pretty few and far between, but as I say, it's always worth a look, and that's the fun of toy hunting. So after a good couple of hours of hunting around, it was time to head over to my favourite place to vintage toy shop, and that is Nakano Broadway. It is just absolutely filled with vintage toys and vintage toy shops. There's modern toys there as well, but that's not what I go for, it's the vintage toys. So let's take a look around Nakano and then I'll show you what I found. So after a few different trips to Nakano over a couple of days, it's always worth going back more than once because the shops tend to change what they have on display. So sometimes you'll go and you'll not see anything. Next time you'll go and you'll see something completely different. So it's always worth going back a couple of times if you have the time on your travels. And these are the pieces that I picked up. In fact, one of these pieces was in the shop last year when I came to visit, but because the exchange rate wasn't very good, I didn't pick it up. This time the exchange rate was working in my favour and the price of it had dropped quite a lot. So this is what I picked up. It's a vintage Adventures of Indiana Jones Belloc mail-away figure. Last time when I went, the exchange rate meant that this was going to be costing about £45, which is probably not a bad price for it. It's a rare figure, certainly here in the UK, and I hadn't actually seen one for £45 in the UK, but at the time I just thought, oh, that's a little bit too much for me. This time when I went, because the exchange rate was so good, it cost me about £35, and that I'm really happy with. It's a lovely condition figure. It doesn't look like it's been played with hardly at all, and it comes with all of its accessories and it's just in remarkably good condition. So I think the last few times I've been to Tokyo, I've actually picked up some vintage Indiana Jones figures, which is just an odd place to find them. They seem to be there more often than they are here in the UK. So that is a really lovely piece, and that came from the shop Robot, which is one of my favourites actually, just because it has such a sort of varied selection of toys and things to be found. Often they are more westernised toys, but yeah, it's still good things to find. Then in Mandarake, I picked up a couple of vintage Transformers. I picked up this, which is a Laserbeak, Transformers G1 Laserbeak. I do already have a few of these, and this one's in pretty reasonable condition. The stickers are pretty worn, but it only cost me £15 complete with its weapons, and I thought that was really good value, and it's just a figure that I like, so at that price I couldn't leave it behind. Then I picked up this, which is a really nice thing to add to my collection. It's not in great condition, but I just love these Japanese boxes. So this is an original G1 dead end Transformer. The box has a little bit of wear. It's missing the points on the back, the robo points. Those often get cut off, and it is missing the weapons, although I knew I had one of the weapons, so I've actually put this other big gun that goes on the back of it already in the box. I still need to find his little blaster, but I just like the way these boxes look. I think they're so nice. In the UK, these got released on a card with a blister. In Japan, they got released as a boxed item like this, so yeah, I had to grab this, and this again only cost me £15, so I thought it was an absolute bargain. So those are the three things I picked up at Nakano Broadway, but there are mandarakes in a couple of other places. In fact, there is one in Ikebukuro, which is the area where I stay, and it's only a short walk from the hotel, so I went there at least 3 or 4 times because I walked past it so often, and I picked up a few little gems there as well. So let me show you what those are. The first being this, which is Kotetsu G. I actually already have one of these in my collection as well, but it was such good value I couldn't leave it behind. This cost 2,000 yen. As I showed you in my first video, I have this little conversion card, so this cost me £11. This is a magnetic figure where you can sort of pull the arms and legs off, and they're all magnetized. You can swap them around. This was actually used as the basis for a few figures that appear in the Micronauts line, the Baron Karza figure that I've shown multiple times on this channel. In fact, I have a video reviewing this and Baron Karza, which I will link to in the description. So it's an interesting figure. It's got a little bit of history to it, and this for £11 I couldn't leave behind. It's just too nice. I'm going to do a little bit of cleaning up on it. It's a little bit dirty. It is missing some of the accessories that go on the back, but that doesn't matter. As I say, I have one already. I wanted this just as another display piece, and I may end up sort of customizing it or just magnetizing some different pieces on it from the Micronauts line. £11 though, I just couldn't leave that behind. Then I picked up a little bit of an oddity, which is this, which is a Power of the Force 2 Star Wars Stormtrooper. I sort of saw it and thought, oh, it's an interesting piece. I remember buying these back in, I think it was like 1996 when they were released. And thinking about it, that's like 29 years ago or 28 years ago. It's hard to believe that this toy is so old. And it was on sale for 400 yen, which again, if we look at my little card, is £2.22. So I just thought I'd pick it up just as a sort of memory of toys that I had. It's slightly different to the UK release of the figure because it has Japanese information on the bottom. I think these might have been released by Tomy in Japan. I can't actually see any information for that, but I sort of have a recollection that they were. But it's just basically got sort of Japanese information on the back. I think there is a little bit of damage to the blister. There's some, looks like there's some glue there. But for 400 yen, I just thought I would grab that. It seems crazy that a figure that is so old is so cheap still. I know nobody really likes these figures because of their sort of muscle-bound bodies, and I would say I'm not that keen on them. But yeah, it's just an interesting figure to grab. I then went there one last time. In fact, it was the last day just before we were heading home, and I was sort of eyeing up some some things in the cabinets and saw at the back something that I knew I had to get, which was this, which is a version of the bigdaix from the animation series Starfleet. I've actually shown a review recently making a model kit of the bigdaix. This was hidden in the back of the sort of cabinet. It's not complete, it's missing one of its fists. They are sort of missile launching fists, so you press a button and they sort of supposed to fire out. It's also got some damage to its face, the X part is missing. But I've never seen a bigdaix this size, or one that I could actually afford to buy. All of the toys that came from Starfleet and X-Bomber are really, really expensive. This cost me, again, I think it was £11, it was 2,000 yen, so a really cheap thing. Not in great condition, but I just really wanted to have it in my collection, and I don't mind things that are a bit battered and broken. And I'm hoping with a little bit of sort of research, I can actually find some pictures of what is supposed to be on his face. It's supposed to be an X going across his face, so if I can find some pictures of this toy and work out exactly what it is. I can't really read the information on the back, so I'm going to have to do a bit more research. But if I can find some images of it, I reckon I can make that. And I'm sure in my box of bits and pieces, I've probably got a fist that is about that size, so I can make a replacement to go on this size. But as I say, it was just one of those things I couldn't leave behind. I think it does actually transform. If you can take this apart, all of these pieces should turn into the sort of 3 space vehicles that you see in the show. Looks like it unclipped, yeah. So that's one of the vehicles. It's supposed to have some jets or something shooting out the back of it. Then the head becomes another vehicle. That should pull off. We've got a little vehicle there. And then this one is the third vehicle. It's just quite an intriguing toy, and as I say, it was so cheap, another one that I just couldn't leave behind. And I've never seen these toys for a price that I could afford. Even though it's not complete, it looks fantastic, and it's going to go on display here with my bigdaix model kit. It's not just toys that I'm on the lookout for when I'm in Tokyo. I also go there to pick up things for projects that I'm working on, because it's a great resource for just sort of DIY bits. And this time I've actually picked up a whole load of pieces. I've got loads of fabric, more fabric for projects. This is all toy knit. There's a few little shops there that are great sources for toy knit. A place called User Wire does all sorts of fabrics for sort of everything you could ever want, but they also have a great selection of toy knit stuff. So I picked up some grey, I've got some sort of dark blue and some black here. I also picked up some UV resin that I wanted for a project, and a little mould, and those were from a shop that's basically a sort of a £1 shop or a dollar shop. Really cheap, so I grabbed a load of those and a little UV light. I also got some of these, which are sort of great display stands, because I've always got figures that need displaying, and you can never have enough stands for sitting things on. So those were, I think, 300 yen each, so that's about £1.50. But the best thing I picked up was this, and it's something I've been keeping an eye out for a long time, which is a Tamiya electric handy drill. It's basically an electric powered version of the pin vise that you see me use all the time, and I saw this online about 6 months ago, and I've been trying to get one sent to the UK, but it was going to be about £40. I went to a shop there, I picked one up for about £15, so I'm really looking forward to building this, because it's not actually a drill, it's a kit of a drill, so you actually get to build it as well, so it's going to be really good fun to do. And I'll actually be building this in a separate video, so keep an eye out for that. But it looks like a really useful thing, something that I'm going to use a lot, so I'm really quite excited to get that one built. So that is it for part 2 of my Tokyo toy hunting videos. Join me in part 3, where I'll take you to a few different stores. We're going to go to a couple of other hobby offs where I have a bit of a major find, and also I do a trade with a good friend of mine, Yuichi, who is better known as Toy Cat, who has one of the biggest Microman collections that I know of, and is always a great source of weird and wonderful toys. So hopefully you have enjoyed this video. I'm going to put a link to part 1 in the description, and as I say, join me in part 3, which will be along in a couple of weeks. So if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. And if you've really enjoyed it and want to support the channel, why not think about becoming a Patreon or YouTube channel member? You get early access to all of my restorations, and also access to an exclusive series called On the Cutting Mat, where I show restorations that you won't see anywhere else. You'll find links to those in the description for this video and every other video that I post. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching Toy-Polloi. Subscribe for more great videos.